Hello, my name is Caleb Lodges. I did my final project on wage growth and talent acquisition in a highly employed economy. I found this topic interesting because as I'm going to be joining the workforce soon, I wanted to know what I'll be getting myself into and how I should be responding to the world around me. The United States saw its worst depression since the Great Depression between the years of 2007 and 2009. But now, as the economy is improving, the country finds itself with an unfamiliar but welcoming dilemma. This dilemma is that there are too many jobs and not enough workers. With an unemployment rate at record lows, companies are struggling to find enough talent to improve their companies and simultaneously improve themselves. So how does this relate to wage growth and talent acquisition? Well, as unemployment decreases, companies will have to competitively seek out talented employees. To do this, companies will have to use competitive compensation strategies, which may include increasing wages, benefits, and simply adhering to what employees would like to get out of their employer. Companies are now faced with the dilemma. They have to adhere to employee bargaining power, as they do need the employees to come and improve their company. So they have to make sure that they're not paying too little as to not attract the talent, but also not overextend themselves when considering the cost they will encounter when paying for training, as well as researching and developing those who are hired. The answer may sound simple. When it comes down to it, pay people more so that they will come work for you. But why isn't this happening? The answer can be found in the fact that productivity has been record lows recently, and the economic cycle is suffering because of it. As output from companies is decreasing due to low productivity, the economic revenue is not returning to those who are working. From an economic standpoint, wage growth should follow a certain pattern. The beginning of this cycle consists of accounts recovering from the recession, which would heal the economy. It would then, in turn, increase the demand for labor from both consumers and investors, which will increase the spending, which would also help the economy. And then as that occurs, with falling unemployment, labor would begin to outpace the demand for supply, which would force employers to increase their offers for workers in order for them to stay in the competition. In reviewing this, parts 1 and 2 have stayed true to the cycle. However, part 3 is not followed accordingly. Nominal wage growth was stagnant at 2% for a longer period of time during the recovery period post-recession than was anticipated. It has since only grown a mere 0.5%, where it has remained since. A 6-month rolling average suggests that wage growth may even decelerate before it begins to improve. This completely goes against what economists believed would be a formatted sequence of events. So what does this all mean for the employees? Well, first off, they acquire more bargaining power, which allows them to selectively choose where they want to work. This is a perk that hasn't been seen in the past, but is different for people in different fields as well as in different regions. Metropolitan areas have seen more wage differentiation than others. Employees in the healthcare or e-commerce fields are expected to have their wages grow more rapidly than any other field. Similarly, any financial majors are also expected to have their wages rise anywhere from 1.5% to 3%, depending on their level of work. Then one may ask, how will employers combat this problem where they have too many jobs and not enough workers seeking employment? Well, that begins with their process for how they go about attracting talent. Talent acquisition and recruitment may sound like the same thing, but they are actually different in the fact that recruitment is simply a part of talent acquisition. One of the top strategies of talent acquisition includes candidate relationship management. This strategy includes building a positive candidate experience, managing candidate communities, and maintaining relationships with candidates that have not yet been selected. This concept is very similar to companies taking care of their clients and their efforts to obtain new clients, as they hope to stay in contact, find out what they can do for them, and ultimately make them an offer to begin a business relationship. As this tactic is applied to incoming employees, it is evident that talent acquisition has to become a constant, ongoing process, regardless of what jobs need to be filled. Companies will now also have to extend their searches to a wider spectrum across the country, where unemployment may not be as low and the labor market might be looser. In doing so, they might not initially be able to fulfill their full checklist for incoming employees, but this will just put the pressure on the company to train their employees to become the workers that they want and need in order for them to succeed. When companies are looking for employees, they should check the unemployment rates in certain regions. For example, states in New England and the Midwest have unemployment rates below 3%, while states such as West Virginia and Alaska have unemployment rates above 5%. When it comes to the type of work, there is an even larger gap in a percentage standpoint. Unemployment is an interesting statistic that varies depending on certain factors. It should be noted that those with a college degree have an unemployment rate at a mere 2.1%. While this may differ from state to state, it is a key component as to why skilled candidates are so hard to find in the labor market. To solve the issue of talent acquisition and wage growth, I recommend that companies focus on increasing their productivity by placing more emphasis on human capital. This can be seen as the main culprit in slow wage growth from an economic standpoint, since output per hour will pay for higher wages, incomes, and living standards. I also suggest that labor unions make a comeback. Unions allow for employees to come together to work towards what they want out of their employer, which in this case is wage growth. The Society for Human Resources noted that nearly every time wages have gone up in a private sector, it was because wages went up in the public sector as a direct result of collective bargaining agreements led by the labor unions. Wage growth, unemployment, and talent acquisition are cohesive economic elements that will change with one another given the proper means. With unemployment decreasing, talent acquisition has to become a priority for companies if they aspire to continue attracting top-level talent and growing accordingly. Wage growth comes into play when it is evident that pay raises are inevitable. Companies must take the issue into their hands to increase training protocols in order to increase productivity levels. This will create a domino effect that benefits the employees, and increasing training will increase their own capital, which will also in turn increase their wage growth. Thank you for watching my video on wage growth and talent acquisition in a highly employed economy. I've enjoyed researching this topic as well as topics along the way to get here.